The main sentence, that's dilutionary language. That's what makes it legal. In 1994, Congress had to step in and settle a dispute between the FDA and the USDA. You see, the FDA wanted to start regulating vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin C, vitamin D as drugs. How power hungry is that? They were wanting to regulate vitamins as drugs. And the USDA said, hey, that's our turf. Get off it. The FDA says, we're the FDA. We're going to do it anyway. Congress stepped in, restricted the FDA specifically with a specific law called the DSHEA Act. But they did give the FDA this little piece of turf to stand on. They said, if a company who's a nutritional, a vitamin, an herbal company, if they make a medical claim, they're voluntarily subjecting themselves to the regulations of the FDA, just like a drug does. Case in point. If I say this bottle of vitamin C cures scurvy, is that a true or false statement? It's true. What other substance on the planet Earth cures scurvy than vitamin C? Nothing. Okay, if I was to say this glass of water cures dehydration, is that a true statement? Absolutely. Now, if I put my name on it and say Ben's bottle of water cures scurvy, $250,000 fine, 5 years in jail, padlock your business. Unless I take my water, spent over $100 million on average, take it through drug trials for 10 years, and prove it safe, even though it's already known to be safe throughout the eons of mankind's existence. That's the actual law. So if I say my water cures dehydration, I have to re-register my water as a drug. Is that nuts? That's the law. Yeah, we live with it. So here's how you get around the law legally. You put this Mickey Mouse language in front of it. So people say, Dan, what do you got that stupid wording up there for? Why don't you just have the guts to say the actual statement? Well, it doesn't have anything to do with guts. It's like, I just don't want us to get put out of business or get thrown in jail. And each time you make a statement, a claim, it's a $250,000 fine per statement. That could get expensive, right? All right, well, let's ignore that dilutionary language just for a moment because we understand the law now. And you talk about these different things. And I dare you to give me the name of a competitor with a functional fruit antioxidant beverage that can make those same claims. I never get a taker. And I've spoken in front of audiences as big as 10,000 at a time. There's no company to my knowledge that can make that many claims, nor that profound. Now, we come back to Dr. Tanner. We're switching categories from a water-soluble to a lipid-soluble antioxidant. And people will say, what's the difference? Well, you protect a water-borne tissue with a water-soluble antioxidant. And the nucleus of all cells float in water. All cells float in water. So 70% of their surfaces are waterborne. But Dr. Sheely taught us that every single cell has a double ring of fat around it called a lipid bilayer. How do you protect a lipid-soluble tissue? With a water-soluble antioxidant? Nope. With a lipid-soluble antioxidant. Now, when you understand that this lipid bilayer is the door that lets nutrients in, the good ones, and waste products out, how big a deal is that? To protect that cellular membrane exchange. What's just the difference between life and death, right? It's no big deal. Or dysfunction and serious disease. Well, when you put together a best-in-class omega-3 fish oil that we heard from Dr. Sheely earlier, with the best-in-class vitamin E, the delta gamma fraction of tocotrienol, you've got a best-in-class product, period. And that's what you can say about it legally. Now, I made a statement earlier. Is there a water-soluble functional food antioxidant with a claim big as that first one? Yep, there is. It's this one. This one exceeds it, actually. There is no product, to my knowledge, in the world, pharmaceutical or otherwise, by any company in any country that can say this. Now, we're not talking about general comments here. We're talking about cardiovascular health. 1 in 3 deaths right there. We're talking about cholesterol levels, triglyceride levels, blood sugar levels, blood pressure levels, brain and neuronal function. Guys, this is big stuff. And if you get down here and you look at this thing called cellular membrane transfer, and people don't understand it. Norm does. You don't have that, guys, you are sick. And this optimizes it. Now, we go to the next category, and this is what Norm did the clinical study on. The science behind this, nitric oxide progenitors, is backed by a Nobel Prize. Now, the Nobel Prize may have been diminished politically by some people who had won it even before they did anything. And I'm sure none of you know what I'm talking about. But in science, the Nobel Prize still has real validity. And I can tell you that the body has the ability to make nitric oxide, as Dr. Sheely talked about, out of arginine, or a secondary mechanism, the parallel pathway, nitrates and nitrites. Now here's what's really exciting from my perspective. I'm not a doctor like Dr. Sheely, but I'm not a fool either. You can educate me, you can tell me stuff, and I can figure it out if you give me enough training. And when I learned that nitric oxide is 1 atom of nitrogen, 1 atom of oxygen, pretty simple molecule. It's just 2 atoms plus a double bond. There's nitrogen in the air and there's oxygen in the air, right? Humans cannot bond the 2 together. Plants can. Humans can't. Great apes can't. Mice can't. Cats can't. Mammals can't. Plants can. So if we ingest the nitrates and nitrites, what is their chemical composition? Well, nitric oxide is 1 atom of nitrogen, 1 atom of oxygen. Our product is literally 1 atom of nitrogen and 2 atoms of oxygen in the case of a nitrite, or 3 atoms of oxygen in the case of a nitrate. How quickly can the body cleave that extra oxygen or extra 2 oxygen atoms off, leaving nitric oxide? A millisecond. Upon contact. Put this in your mouth as a liquid. The bacteria in your mouth emits an enzyme that can cleave that extra oxygen atom off. Boom! You got nitric oxide in your mouth instantaneously. Our dentists love this stuff. People that have swollen gums and their gums are breaking down, this creates nitric oxide in their mouth and causes that to start healing immediately. That gas will diffuse through the lining of the mouth, the buccal mucosal tissue, go into the veins, go to the heart, go out to the lungs, go back to the heart, and out to the body within a couple of seconds. I was talking to a cardiologist about it the other day, and he says, a guy hits the ground, got a heart attack or a stroke, pry their mouth open, pour this in their mouth, use your finger, wipe it around their mouth, especially on top of the tongue, not under, on top especially. You'll create nitric oxide, pump him a couple of times and breathe him a couple of times. It'll go into his system, blow the blood vessels wide open, you'll save the life of that person. That's pretty exciting stuff. What do you think? So if that happens to you, and you're like me, and you've got your little bottle of wherever mine is, thought I had it in my pocket, but I guess I don't. Your little bottle of Nitro Extreme, you give that to them and you could actually save a person's life right on the spot. Now, if a person's being attended to by the paramedics, they came to a scene where a person's down and they're out, they've got this stuff in a spray. Now, it's a pharmaceutical, it's synthetic. And if the person's on Viagra and they give that to them, that synthetic form, can kill them. Our product, drink the whole bottle, whole month's supply in 1 shot. The body's going to use as much as it needs on demand in the tissue that it needs it only. It's pretty cool, site-specific. Now, I did human clinical trials in Europe, Asia, and the United States. Google search my name, and you'll get a couple of links. In fact, if you type in under Google Dan SwinDell space heart, you'll get 1,100,000 links. Do that with diabetes, you'll get about 220,000. So when somebody says, do I know a little tiny something about this topic? Little tiny. And I can tell you that that is a best-in-class product, period. Now, as you go through, as Dr. Sheedy was talking earlier, what does it do in the body? We're talking about regulating the natural platelet stickiness so you don't have to have Plavix or Coumadin or warfarin. And we've got cardiologists taking those patients off those drugs, right and left. Internists taking those patients off those drugs. We can introduce you to people who are using Coumadin at such high dosages that their hair all fell out, eyelashes fell out, eyebrows fell out. You just touch them and they'll have subcutaneous bleeding, great big pools of blood underneath their skin. You know what I'm talking about. We got those patients off of those drugs completely, and they're not throwing clots and they're not having strokes or heart attacks. Who in here has heard that Verl Osmond, Donnie and Marie's brother, older brother, had a serious auto accident, almost killed him? Do you guys know about that? Verl did. The Osmonds are fairly rich, right? Can they afford the best health care that money can buy? They can. Verl, when he had the auto accident, threw a clot from the trauma. He didn't have heart disease, didn't have vessel disease. He had a trauma that caused a clot to go. He had a stroke. They couldn't get him out of the hospital bed. The very best physicians, the very best physical therapists couldn't get him out of the hospital bed to a wheelchair. Well, a friend of Marie's is a friend of mine, 6 degrees of separation. And the friend called me and said, SwinDell, that stuff you guys sell really work? I said, yeah, really does. He said, okay, get me some. I got it to him. He got it to got it to Marie. Marie got it to the doctor. The doctor says it's not going to help, but it won't hurt him. Knock yourself out. He did. Got Verl out of that hospital bed, to a wheelchair, to a walker, on stage, 4 months. And they'd been working with him for months. Couldn't get him out of the hospital bed to a wheelchair. Verl realized it was me behind the scenes kind of being puppet master. And he got word to me, sent me some tickets, because he knew that I was absolutely just in love with Marie. My wife is a spitting image of Marie Osmond. And I love opera. I'm crazy about opera. And one of the funnest things Virginia and I ever did was I flew us to London to see Michael Crawford and Sarah Brightman, one of the final performances of Phantom of the Opera in the Queen's Theater, Center Circle. That was expensive, worth every penny. What most people don't know is Marie Osmond sings opera beautiful. You know that. She's phenomenal. And she invited me up on stage as a reward to helping Verl and embarrassed me to death because I can't sing to save my life, but it was fun. So when somebody says, does this stuff really make a difference in the quality of human life? It's like, guys, this stuff is crazy amazing. And then you switch up to the neurologic effect. And absent nitric oxide, your neural system won't function. You're dead. There's a saying that if you're fat enough, and I'm getting close to qualifying, Norm, I got to get off the road and start exercising more. If you're fat enough, you can live a couple of months without food. Not well. You can live, unless you're in a desert, without water for several days. You can live a few minutes without oxygen. But if your system goes devoid of nitric oxide, your electrical system turns off. It quits working. You're dead instantly. Now here we're not talking about instantaneous death, but we are talking about neurotransmitters in the central nervous system, in the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic system that runs the whole body. Absent adequate nitric oxide, you're a sick puppy. And now they're connecting it to Alzheimer's. The leading research now is talking about cerebral blood flow and Alzheimer's. And guys, we've already had Alzheimer's patients that didn't know who they were, where they were, couldn't feed themselves anymore, couldn't go to the bathroom by themselves, come back. That's an absolute fact. I've got a buddy that owns 400 nursing homes. 400. One of the largest in the country. And we're working with decubitus ulcers. You guys ever seen those ulcers that when a person lays in a bed, they get the bed sores? Well, that's because they're putting pressure on that tissue, and it collapses the vessel, and that vessel then can't supply oxygen to that tissue, and the tissue breaks down. What if we could increase the tensile strength of that blood vessel so it could withstand that better? But it's even more important that after they roll the patient over, because I guess supposed to roll the patient every so often if they're bedridden like that, as soon as the oxygen comes back to that poorly oxygenated tissue, that oxygen will oxidize that dying tissue and accelerate it. What if we could stop that from happening? What if we could start healing those bed sores? Big deal or little deal? Billions and billions of dollars. We're seeing it happen every day. What about a diabetic that gets an ulcer on his foot or his ankle and they don't heal? And we start watching them heal in 3 to 5 days. What about the person who's already started staged amputations? If we were able to cause that tissue that was dying back and they have to keep cutting and cutting and cutting, what if we could stop that process in 3 to 5 days and start healing that stump? Guys, we're doing that routinely. How exciting is that? Does anybody in here know somebody who's on dialysis? What if we took diabetic patients that have moved into dialysis and have been there for years, and we're able to now get their kidneys to start functioning, and they can actually urinate again for the first time in years? Big deal, little deal? Huge. Quality of life, right? Not just length of life. Quality. That's Norm's big deal. It's like when I lose my quality of life, take me outside and put me down. I'm done. I feel the same way. Now what I'm going to tell you is, these products, they're not small. Here we're talking about a macrophage, a differentiated form of a white blood cell, And these are the guys that run around and kill cancers while they're little. Who in this room knows the fact that 100% of us have cancer 100% of the time? A few of you do. Every one of us have aberrant tissue that's trying to take off and kill us. You know what stops it? Macrophages. They spot that differentiated cell that's got that damaged DNA instruction that's building this aberrant cell growth, and it runs over and attacks it and kills it. That's an electron microscope picture that's been colorized of a macrophage killing a cancer. Big deal, little deal? Okay. See, a lot of times people will give me a hard time and say, SwinDell, you're just selling overpriced vitamins. I'll say, maybe. Are we selling overpriced vitamins? Yeah.
Back to the ulcers and the bed sores and that kind of thing. Obviously, they're taking it internally. Are they also using FX topically?
Extreme. Topically.
Extreme topically.
And we're putting a soaked gauze and sealing it with a little bit of non-permeable tape to hold it in. Yep. Now, I'm going to switch to the business really, really quick. I'm not going to get into this too much. Who in here knows someone that the recession has damaged them? Okay, the rest of you are not participating. Because we all know somebody that the recession has just really blasted. They either lost money in the stock market, through their IRA, their KEO, their 401k, their SEP. They lost their money through their corporate pension plan. They lost money in real estate. They lost money in the stock market or mutual funds. They lost their job. Maybe they found another one at half the pay. Now they're underemployed. They're employed but underemployed. We all know people like that, right? Are people hurting? Yeah, they are. Are people looking for a plan B? Yeah. What about people that are doing okay, but they're stuck in a job they just hate? Would they like to find an exit strategy? Yeah. But of course, it's just the United States, right? Oh, you mean people live all over the world? You mean like Japan, Hong Kong, China, Taiwan, Korea? See, when I fly to those countries, people are people. And they got hurt just as bad as we did. And in fact, places in Europe are in serious trouble. I mean, we're in serious trouble, but we still got a little time left before things explode on us. The number one country in the world right now for Kione is China. Everybody thinks that China is rich, and I'll tell you, there are people in China that are. There are more millionaires in China than there are in the United States. In fact, there are more millionaires in China than people live in the United States. However, out of their their 1.5 billion people, you know, a zero here and a zero there, you know, the government's got me all screwed up. You know, a trillion, a billion, you know, who can even figure it out? But of their 1.5 billion people, they have over 300 million millionaires. And they regulate, or they count millionaires different over there. They don't say your house and your cars and all that stuff. You have to have $1 million in the bank in cash to call you a millionaire in China, plus your house and everything else. Kind of interesting. But as you look at this, whether we're talking about Latin America, we're talking about Europe, the country right now that's seeing the most explosive growth is Hungary. And there's a joke in the company. The Hungarians are hungry. And they're working their fannies off to change their scenario, their circumstance. People in the United States, we're kind of asleep. We're a little bit of a malaise. Kind of apathetic, you know? Government will take care of us. For a little while longer. Right, Vince? Till it all collapses. And guys, people are looking for a plan B, I'll guarantee you. There's our home office. Now, network marketing, people say, well, how does that work, Dan? Well, really, really well. We're now 100 and, well, that's the wrong slide. I opened the wrong one. That is 125 billion. That number's 2 years old. It's already grown by a quarter in just the last 2 years. And what I can tell you is, whether you're on the left or the right politically, it doesn't matter. Our past presidents endorsed this industry. And whether you're the captain of real estate or the mogul of Wall Street, Donald Trump owns one network marketing company, Warren Buffett owns 3. So is it socially acceptable in the upper ends of this whole thing? Big time. Donald Trump said if he lost all of his money, you know what he would do? He'd go to work at a network marketing company. That's how he'd build back. He's on record. People are looking for exit strategies, whether they're unemployed, underemployed, or just stuck in a job that they don't like. And then they'll ask us, have you got a compensation package that'll compete with the other companies? Now, when we were little kids, talk to you guys for a moment. Us guys, we want to grow up and be astronauts and firemen and policemen, right? Not me. I want to be a gladiator. I've been to Rome, and I've been on the sands of the floor, and I imagine myself as a gladiator in this business. It's really interesting because some of my competitors will say, my gosh, SwinDell, your confidence is so strong, you're just almost on the verge of arrogance. You know what I say to them? It's worse than you think. And they say, really? And I say, yeah. They say, how bad is it? Well, I imagine myself a gladiator in a titanium suit of armor. Now, you bring that steel sword. They didn't even have steel then, they had iron. But you bring your sword and come over and just beat on this suit. You're not going to faze me. Titanium, baby. Now, instead of me holding an iron sword in my hand, you know what I got in my hand? Star Wars lightsaber. And you know what I say to my competition? Next. Bring it. And you know why I have that much confidence? When you know, not think, when you know what you know. We've got billionaire owners, the biggest lineup, the most prestigious lineup of scientists any company's ever assembled in history in a company like ours. Products more powerful than anybody in the industry, pharmaceutical or not. And then on top of that, we've got a compensation plan that's pumping out 58%. Who in here knows how much Amway pays? 27. It's publicly traded, it's public knowledge. You can go on the internet, look it up. How much does Herbalife pay? 34. How about Nu Skin? 42. How about USANA? 45. I can keep going. I know the numbers. Is anybody on the other side of 50? One or two companies. Is there anyone pumping out 58? None. Why? Our owners aren't taking any money out. None. Haven't since our inception, except for charity. Now, when you start understanding our comp plan, and I won't give you training on it, that's about an hour by itself. Understand this. We will pay you for each of the correct activities required to build a successful business. Instead of saying, win the race in a car race, and we'll give you a trophy and a prize money, we will give you money for showing up. We'll give you money for bringing people here. We'll give you money for this and for that and for this and for that. And oh, by the way, win the race, we'll pay you pretty well. Now, a person says, well, how complicated is it? Find 3 people, literally, find 3 people that are passionate about helping people, not making money. The money will come. Don't focus on it. Focus on helping people. My team has a motto. Through the successes of those we serve, we find our success. It's truth. You help other people succeed with our plan, you will be taken care of. Now, there's a problem with 3 getting 3. Who here has heard of the 80-20 rule? Anybody heard of the 80-20 rule? Well, I don't believe in it, by the way. The way it works is it says that 20% of the people do 80% of the work and have 80% of the wealth. And the other 20% of the wealth is divided amongst the 80% of the people. I don't believe in that. I believe the welfare mentality that's taken hold in our country has moved that to 90-10, maybe 95-5. My opinion. I'm not saying I'm right. So if that's true, now I don't believe that is true in Missouri. I do not believe that's true here. But I've been to places in California where it's even worse than that, I think. It might be 98-2. I've been to other places where it's just horrific, the ratios. Chicago is horrible, the ratios. You guys know I'm telling the truth about this stuff. If that's the case in different areas, you have different ratios. But to get 3, you might have to talk to 30 if it's the 90-10 ratio. Now here's my question. Let's say you talked to 30 people, got 27 no's and 3 yeses, and it changed your life. And you're now making $5,000, $10,000 a month. You got a brand new car, the company's paying for 1 or 2 vacations a year. Is that worth getting 27 no's? It's like, let me at it, SwinDell. I want more than 27. I want as many no's as I can get, because each no is 1 closer to the yes, right? Am I telling the truth? Yeah. Am I exaggerating? Not a bit, guys. I've made millions of dollars doing this. It's not theory. How'd I do that? By helping other people succeed. Do you think I did that by myself? I'm not that good. Through the successes of those we serve, we find our success. Focus on yourself, you're screwing up. Focus on helping your people, you'll get everything you want. Now here's one other thing about our company and our compensation package that's just breathtaking. In a company I was in before I came to Kayani, I had 42,800 distributors around the world. But I was only getting paid on a fraction of them, because that company paid down 12 levels of dynamically compressed volume. That translated to 18 levels. That's huge. In this industry, getting paid 18 levels deep, that's crazy. And that paid me a lot of money. I made millions of dollars doing it. But my best year, I made $44,000 a month on $3.4 million a month in sales. And everybody says, what are you whining about, SwinDell? That's not bad. That same